Now, she may have just celebrated her 80th birthday, but one of our best-loved former MPs is showing no signs of slowing down.
She certainly isn't. Baroness Shirley Williams seems to be as busy today as she was in the years when she was MP for Hitchin, Hertford and Stevenage in the 60s and early 70s.
Our Westminster correspondent Matthew Hudson has been taking a look at the career of quite a remarkable politician.
Hey there.
On the campaign trail, more than half a century after her first battle to become an Essex MP, Baroness Shirley Williams is still a political force to be reckoned with. In Norwich during election 2010, helping the Centre Party she helped to create.
They're still members of the Labour Party.
How long do you intend to remain so?
Now that, you know, is a question that we're not going to answer.
Why not?
When the answer came, it was to leave Labour with the Gang of Four and form the SDP. A seismic shift then that took nearly 30 years to finally break the mould of British politics with a coalition in Downing Street.
I didn't see how I could simply lie to the public I'd represented for, by this time, some 15 years, and who I had a great deal of respect for. So I just decided I couldn't do it. I couldn't join the Conservative Party because I had no sympathy and no shared values with them. So the only thing to do, my colleagues felt the same way, was to start another party.
Dubbed Shirl the Pearl, she's many people's choice to lead the party.
Today, it's easy to forget just how events in the early 1980s rocked the political establishment here at Westminster. But just imagine that Ed Miliband, David Miliband, Ed Balls and Harriet Harman all quit Labour, set up their own party and then merged with the Liberal Democrats. That gives you some idea of just how significant these events were.
I don't feel myself to be, as it were, an extreme member of either wing of the party.
Shirley Williams was first elected a Hertfordshire MP in 1964, serving Hitchin, Hertford and Stevenage for 15 years. One of only 23 women MPs, she rose through the ministerial ranks to become Education Secretary in Jim Callaghan's government.
Williams, Shirley, Vivian, Theresa Britton.
Shirley Williams lost her Labour seat at the 1979 election, but under the SDP banner won a stunning by-election victory at Crosby in Liverpool 2 years later. She couldn't repeat the success at the following general election and failed again 4 years later in Cambridge. Then a move to Harvard as a politics professor and eventually the House of Lords. A political career that laid the groundwork for a coalition that propelled the Centre Party out of the political wilderness.
One of the things the electorate told us loud and clear, we want you to work together. We're fed up with Punch and Judy politics. And I think if we can bring off, for the financial crisis, I'm not talking about the very long term, I don't really see myself as being part of a Lib-Con coalition that will last over the long term. But I think we have to hold together for the sake of the economic crisis and the political crisis, because don't forget, this isn't just about the economic crisis, the banking crisis and so on. It's also very much about the need for political reform.
At 80, she has the distinction of having spent 50 years in politics while making many friends and precious few enemies. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News, Westminster.
I love watching her on Question Time. I worked in Westminster for about 5 years and she can teach the new ones a thing or two.
Yeah, savvy lady. Now, it was the moment our wartime leader famously praised the few who turned the Second World War.
Today, 70 years on, the Battle of Britain memorial flight stopped people in their tracks. Spectators across the region watched as Hurricanes, Spitfires and a Lancaster flew past in formation.
The flight commemorated Winston Churchill's speech, marking the heroism of the aircrew fighting over Britain's skies in 1940. Elodie Harper's report begins with his famous words.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Taking to the skies over Duxford once more are these veteran planes from the Battle of Britain. They flew to remember those few men who Winston Churchill praised for defending the country against all odds, as in the summer of 1940, the RAF was vastly outnumbered by the German Luftwaffe. Wing Commander Tom Neal from Suffolk joined the Air Force as a 19-year-old fighter pilot and remembers what it was like to defend Britain's skies that summer.
Whilst we were shooting at the bombers, of course the escorts were shooting at us. And this is why so many of our aircraft were lost in the act of shooting the bombers down.
Today's flight took off from North Weald before flying over Duxford onto Biggin Hill in Kent, when 2 of the aircraft peeled off to fly over London. Among the many visitors who came to see the memorial flight here were 3 generations of the Fry family. Clifford Fry was an evacuee near Duxford and remembers watching the air battles overhead.
I saw the dogfights going on and the Spitfires shooting down the Messerschmitts and everything. The memory's still there.
It makes me realise what people went through and what my mum and dad went through.
I've always wanted to know what did happen, and just seeing all the big aircrafts and everything, and it's just amazing being here.
Duxford was a key airbase during the Battle of Britain, and squadrons would be sent out from this very operations room.
There were several occasions when the Duxford and Falmere-based squadrons became involved in major aerial battles.
Today's memorial flight honoured Churchill's famous view, but the planes themselves have also achieved an iconic status in many people's imagination.
It is the symbol of fighter supremacy. Spitfire, without a doubt, is the symbolic aeroplane of all times.
Everybody remembers the glamorous Spitfire, but in fact it was this plane, the Hurricane, which made up 2/3 of the Air Force during the Battle of Britain. And they shot down far more of these, the German Messerschmitt.
One of Duxford's most famous fighter pilots, who flew both Hurricanes and Spitfires, was Wing Commander Douglas Bader. Bader had lost both legs and flew as a double amputee, so it was fitting that a Piper Aztec plane joined today's memorial journey to promote flying scholarships for the disabled. On board was Bruce Dickinson, himself a pilot, though better known as rock band Iron Maiden's frontman.
Flying scholarships for the disabled took its inspiration, in part, from Douglas Bader and his part in the Battle of Britain. It didn't stop him escaping, so being disabled in itself is no barrier whatsoever.
It's 70 years on from Churchill's speech, and the numbers who fought in the battle may have been few, but gratitude for their sacrifice remains strong in the many who remember. Elodie Harper, Anglia News, Duxford.
They were true heroes, weren't they?
Amazing. In a few moments, we'll be handing over to the national team in London. Here's what to expect.
We saw earlier, it's not exactly been the greatest conditions for pitching a tent today. A tad on the windy side for those camping at the V Festival.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, though. Let's head back to Chelmsford. Hello, Amanda.
Hello there. Yes, it has been pretty gusty down here, but I can tell you, I don't think any type of weather would put this lot off from having a good time. There really is a fantastic vibe down here. Loads of great music to look forward to this weekend, great fashion, and of course the biggest Wellington boot collection you have ever seen in your entire life. We have seen thousands and thousands of them today, but were they right to bring them? Let's take a look.
Well, that's it for us. Have a great weekend.
Yes,
bye-bye.
bye-bye.